Hope you all are doing well this morning. It is, what is today? Thursday. Thursday, September 22nd, I think. But it is September 22nd. And this morning in our devotional, now this devotional this morning might go a little longer because I want to explain this out a little further. It's the title of our devotional this morning is The Race Marked Out for Us. So let's read what this says, and then I actually got a few notes myself. The race marked out for us, and we talked about purpose before, that we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose to run that race that God has set before us, okay? So let's see what the devotional says first. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Let us throw off everything that hinders the sin that easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24 and 25. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone that competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get our crown that will last forever. Philippians 3:14. I press toward the goal for the prize for the upward call of God in Jesus Christ. 2 Timothy 4:7 and 8. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have remained faithful. And now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. And the prize is not just for me, but for all who eagerly look forward to his appearing. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, for physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. And at the bottom of our devotional, it says, today you are running a life marathon. Maybe you are fighting fit, or perhaps you want to give up already. It takes months and years for a spiritual training program of prayer, joy, gratitude, and yield results. There are mountains and descendants that the dropping of sin, that nothing can hold you back. And then there's the finish line, the emotional moment where two self-exhausted religious athletes help the third one over the finish line. Run today's race at full speed. Run today's race at full speed. And that is a good devotional this morning. I have a few notes on that, believe it or not. But it says, if you can read it, the top there, it says, so how does a Christian run the race well? Because that's what we want, right? We want to run this race that God has set before us all. We want to run it well, right? So here are some things on how to run the race well. First, by serving God with enthusiasm, like a wholehearted runner, just like in Colossians 3, verse 23, that says, and whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men. Also, by using every single day wisely. cautious, cautious that time is ticking by. So you use every single day wisely. Cautious that time is ticking by, just as Ephesians 5:16 that tells us to redeem the time because the days are evil. Also, we run the race well by unflinchingly suffering with Jesus, knowing that running sometimes involves pain, just as in Romans chapter 8, verse 17 and 18. And it reminds us that we are heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with him. If indeed we, what? Suffer with him. Man. Sorry about that, guys. If indeed we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. And also by not quitting in the middle of the race, confident that Jesus runs beside us, just as we read in the devotional in Hebrews chapter 1. But let me go ahead and read. I want to read Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 through 3 to you all. And that says, Therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which easily ensnares us. Lay that sin aside. Get rid of that sin. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and discouraged in your soul. So don't get weary and discouraged. Run the race like Jesus is right there beside of you, encouraging you and cheering you every step of the way. Okay? And Christ will greet every winner at the finish line with the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Hearing those words is a purpose worth striving for, more precious than any Olympic gold. That is the purpose worth striving for, definitely. Another thing that I want to read to you all, and I read it in the study group the other day, because I feel this is very, 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 very important. And that is Matthew chapter 7, verse 14. Actually, I'll read 13 too, but I really want to look at 14. 13 says, "Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leadeth to life, and there are few that find it." So, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. That's what it says in the King James Version. I wanted to look at what they mean. The words. Find in Greek is, the number is 2147. It means to find, not just to find, but to find with a search. You have to search. Way means, the number is 3598, and it means the manner of life or action. Straight, the number is 47 28. And it means narrow from obstacles standing close about. And narrow, the number is 2346. It means to crowd, afflict, narrow, throng, suffer tribulation, and trouble. So, if we put them definitions to each word to help give us a clearer understanding of that verse could say, because straight, meaning narrow with a lot of obstacles, is the gate, and narrow with affliction, suffering, tribulation, and trouble is the way or manner of life that we live. So the manner of life that we live is filled with affliction, suffering, tribulation, and trouble. That's the life that we live, which leadeth unto life. Life is with Jesus. And few, very small in number, there be that find, search for it. So few search for that narrow path. But guys, we have to search for that narrow gate and run this race with enthusiasm, as if Jesus was right there beside of us. He is with us every single day, every second of the day. He's always there. When you're going through something, turn to Him first. Don't turn to man. Turn to Jesus first, guys. I feel very deep in my soul that time is winding down. Time is short. We need to get serious with God. We need to get serious with God. We need to get serious with our walk with God. We need to get rid of sin, just as we read in Ezekiel a few days ago. We cannot have sin. Actually, let me read that to you all again. Let me find it here. And I had someone to comment. In Ezekiel 3, it says, when a righteous man turns from his righteousness and commits iniquity, which is sin, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because you did not give him warning, he shall die in his sin. And this is important. Listen, guys. And his righteousness. Now, this is righteous people. This is the ones that are saying they're Christians. His righteousness, which he has done, shall not be remembered. If he dies in sin, his righteousness will not be remembered by God. It says that we are to warn him. It says, nevertheless, if you warn the righteous man that the righteous should not sin. Let me underline this so you all can see this. Should not sin. And then I know I mentioned this on a video, and I had someone to comment about Ezekiel 33. Now, this is Ezekiel chapter 3. Now, let's flip over to Ezekiel chapter 33, since someone commented on it, about it. And it goes through a watchman to blow the trumpet if he sees trouble coming. But it also, starting in verse 7 of chapter 33, is exactly what I just read from chapter 3. It says, so you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore, you shall hear a word from my mouth and warn them for me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die. And you do not speak to warn the wicked from his ways. The wicked man shall die in his iniquity. That his blood I require at your hands. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity. That you have to... Sorry, guys. Obviously, the enemy does not want this to go back out. But it's going out anyway. I don't care if I have to write it for you all to read. Okay. All right. Then in verse 10, we're in verse 10 of Ezekiel 33. Sorry. We're in verse 10 of the Ezekiel 33. It says, therefore you, O son of man, say to the house of Israel, thus you say, if our transgressions and our sins lie upon us, and we pine away at them, how can we live? Say to them, as I live, says the Lord, I have no pleasure in death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn from your evil ways, for why should you die? Let me see if I want to read on here. Yeah, let me read on. In verse 12, it says, the righteousness of the righteous man. We just read about the righteous man in chapter 3. The righteousness of the righteous man shall not deliver him in the day of his transgression. Think about that. That is verse 12 of chapter 33 of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 33:12. The righteousness of a righteous man shall not deliver him in the day of his transgression. Transgression, sin. Transgression is sin. We cannot continue in a sinful way of life. Just as we read in our devotional this morning, I know this is going long and I do apologize, but the Lord has been stirring up my spirit for the last 2 days, and I just feel very, very strongly we need to get sin completely out of our life, run the race strong. That is our purpose. And it just so happened that's what our devotional was about this morning. We need to run this race with enthusiasm, strong. Finish this race strong, guys. Finish it strong. He loves each and every one of you. That is each and every one of our purposes, is to run this race strong, to tell people about Jesus, to help expand his kingdom, because nothing on this earth is about us. It's all about him. It's all about him. Everything is about him. We should not, I feel very strongly that there are people, and I've been guilty of this, there are people who want to have certain things in life that they want to do. You know, they have certain dreams in life they want to do, but God has a different plan for them. God wants them to spread his word, to evangelize the people, to increase his kingdom, because it is all about him. But yet, their flesh wants to go over here and do something else, what they want to do. Well, I want to be a doctor, so that takes a lot of time, a lot of studying and time and everything, and I just don't have time to go out and evangelize. But yet I'm a pastor, but in my flesh I want to be this doctor over here. I don't want to take the time to go out and evangelize. Guys, it's not about us. There is nothing on this earth all that money you're going to make as a doctor is not going to get you nowhere. We have to go out and spread God's word for his kingdom. Everything is about him. Remove the sin from your life. Remove it from your life. If there is a temptation that easily comes upon you and snares you, just as his word just said, if there is a temptation that easily snares you, you need to remove that temptation out of your life, whether it is a person or an object or whatever it is. If there's a person in your life that tries to tempt you to have an affair on your spouse or whatever the case may be, you need to remove that person. If your children want you to do things or lie to people to cover up or whatever that they've done, say you have a kid that went out and stole from the store down the street, and you know your kid done that, and your kid wants you to lie for them, even though you love that kid, to keep them from going to jail, even though you love them, you have to tell the truth. And yeah, your kid will get hauled off to jail. Buddy, my kids know I'll be the first one on the phone to the cops. Hey, come pick them up. I will not tolerate it. No. I set my foot down a few years back, and that stuff will not be tolerated. We have, even if it's our kids, if our kids hates us because we talk about Jesus so much, I know personally how that feels. We have to continue on. We have to. You pray for that child. But if that child does not want you in their life, you pray for them. Don't let it depress you. Finish the race strong with enthusiasm. The way is narrow, very, very narrow, with obstacles and afflictions and tribulations and troubles. When these things come, don't be that seed that comes up and then withers away, because all these things of the world, these troubles and trials and afflictions are coming upon you, and then you just go back into the world. Don't be that seed. Continue on, guys. Continue on. I love you guys, dear Lord. Dear Lord, please listen. Time is so short. Time is so short. And I know I went really long this morning, guys, but time is so, so short. We should all, every person that claims to be a Christian, should be hitting their knees, praying for the lost. Praying for the lost. Guys, he's coming. He's coming with vengeance upon this sinful world. And I don't want to see anybody go through that. But it's not my choice. It's their choice on how they want to live. But I can pray for them. I can do my part. Run the race, guys, with enthusiasm. Do it for his glory. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Everything you do, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, and everything, whatever you do it for his glory. That's what counts. Because I know personally, I want to hear, welcome in, you good and faithful servant. I want so much to hear that. And I hope you do too. I love you guys very much. I know I've kept you too long this morning. But guys, this is so, so important. So important. It's a very, very narrow gate. Very narrow gate. Just as the days of Noah and as the days of Lot. It's a very, very narrow gate. And not everyone who claims to be a Christian will make it into heaven. He's not coming back for the church. He's coming back for his bride, the ones who has made themselves ready. And unfortunately, that's not the church, because the church is corrupt. There's not many in the church that's fallen to their knees praying for the lost. There's not many in the church doing anything to help the homeless or anything. And yet I know these things, works don't get you into heaven. But I don't see the church even praying. I don't see the church doing anything. As a matter of fact, my experience with the church was they looked more to man than to God. They looked more at a certain president to save this nation than they looked to God. And that's a shame. Everyone in this country should be hitting their knees praying for this country. If every person who claimed to be a Christian was praying for this country, things wouldn't be like they are today. They wouldn't be like they are today. Think about that. I love you guys. Sorry for this going kind of long. But think about these words, guys. Time is short. Time is short. I'll leave you all with that and say, hopefully one day soon, we all meet in the clouds with Jesus. We finish this race and we meet in the clouds at the finish line with Jesus. I love you guys. Have a blessed day.